Okay. Greetings and Hotep. I want to say, when you disobey God, the Creator, whatever you call what you think created the earth, there's always consequences. You can be an earth angel. You can be a person after God's own heart, like David. But when you do wrong, and you could just ignore God, okay, God, I'll do it later. I'll do it tomorrow. 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 There's consequences. Don't take things for granted. I don't post every day on this channel. I formalized this channel because I needed some cash and I needed paychecks. But I have about 8 doppelgangers and over 50 gang stalkers. Definitely many more. The last 5 that I have encountered, I haven't added them to my list. Something is changing with me and I'm thankful for. I think they're called upgrades. I can't talk about that right now because I need to kind of keep this short. And I'm doing something different. I usually have my other daughter's tablet that I record with, but she's talking about something that is kind of resonating with me. My brother came and took a picture of my daughter, and I was like, I'd already put in a request for a restraining order, and they were telling me at the 13th Judicial Circuit Court that they couldn't give me the judge was not going to even look at my request for a restraining order because I didn't have the proper ID. And I said, so if a woman gets beat up by her husband and she runs out of the house and she doesn't have her purse and she comes to you for a restraining order, you all are not going to honor her restraining order because she doesn't have her purse with her ID in it? And basically they were giving me a yes. So I filed a complaint with my attorney general in the state of Florida, and I just continued forward. I asked them if they had an affidavit. Sometimes you can use an affidavit, and if there's a person that knows that you are the person you say you are, they can notarize it. Sometimes you can say, I am this person, I live at this address, and they will notarize it and accept that. But they didn't do any of those things. So my brother is the one who evicted us, with his little fraudulent A Plus Properties organization, June 2nd, 2022, from my childhood home at 6010 North 32nd Street. So I'm like, he has friends with a little pull who have taken oaths, most of them, but they don't mind violating their oaths because what I realize now is they probably were coven members, right? He's in one of those Omega fraternities, but I'm talking about a coven, which to me is very different from a sorority or a fraternity. So I tell the court I don't want him taking pictures of my children, because one thing about my brother, if he does something, it is for a reason. Please move. So I need you to back up now. These dogs are being disrespectful. Energies move through anything. Anything can be used by an energy, especially if it's unprotected. So I have been trying to figure out, what can people put, bury in the ground at your house to cause you problems. We've thrown away 4 pairs of shoes because we have stepped in dog poo. So Donald Ross said, if you step in boo-boo, that means you got voodoo on you. And I thought that was the silliest thing when he first told me. May he be resting in peace. But now it might make sense. So if I step in some boo-boo or my children, those shoes are going in the trash. And that's the way I do it. Sometimes I will burn them depending on the energy that I feel, coming from the shoe. So now they have already taken control over my little platform here, Topics Trending in Tarot, TNT, and I'm already shadow banned. And The Creator said, don't worry about those things. You need to get it out into the atmosphere. The people that need to find it will find it. So that's what I'm doing. Look at the title. Someone you know is in a cult that kidnaps gifted kids and women. Trigger warning. Targeted you. And I have watched it at least once. Now, I gave birth to the only two children that I have ever prayed for in my life, and I'm thankful for all my children. The Creator always uses my children to show that He is saving me from something. So I had a child on my birthday. Hey, you, away. Back up off her. Away. And that was like a delight to me because I was, conflicted about taking a scholarship at a school way off somewhere. One was like Utah, the other was like Wyoming or Wisconsin. I remember it began with a W. And Coach Atkins over at Armwood Senior High School was my track coach for my senior year. Now, I didn't have any idea about how to get the best out of your high school or even junior high school years. I was just living and trying to make it. I got on the track and field team. I thought I would like it. At Van Buren, Coach Juanita Underwood, she wasn't playing no games. So I used to walk home from track practice hurting. And I used to say, I'm not going back, I'm not going back. And I kept going back and I kept going back. Well, she is the best track and field coach I have ever encountered. And I made it to state. We made it to state. I was going to be running, the 220. That's what it was called back then. And the 440. That's what it was called back then. Because 440, I think it was yard dashes back then. I think they have renamed it meters or something like that. So Miss Marks, my typing teacher, we used to pick at her because her knuckles were really big, like that part. It looks like she had a severe case of arthritis or rheumatoid, what do you call it? Rheumatoid arthritis, where the thickening of like there's a lot of scar tissue or extra calcium built up in the bones and it just looked contorted and distorted. And I was with a clique of, students that thought it was a good idea to tease the teacher. And when it came time for her to give me my grades, she gave me an F in conduct. And I cried in front of her because I couldn't go to the state competition. And that meant that the people that were depending on me to make points, I think my best score was like a 25 in the 20-yard dash, the 220. And I can't remember my best score on the 400. But I had scores that were good enough, definitely, to get a full athletic scholarship. And I probably would have been an Olympian. And I cried. I didn't know how to negotiate and beg her to change it, or even I didn't have the common sense to take a marker and change it and make it an A instead of an F. I met people later on in life. I substitute taught for like 13 years off and on. And I met children who knew how to change the grades. They had the courage to change the grades. I didn't have the courage, and it didn't even cross my mind. So I got kicked off of the track and field team, and that took my life down. I'm not going to say that was the first taking down of my life, but that was very significant because it changed my life. Had I been able to go to the state competition, I probably would have ended up definitely getting trophies, meeting other people, having conversations, and they would have been like, "Oh, like in football, you go to a Division 1 school, even if you have to move to another neighborhood or go stay with your friend that lives in that school district so that you can go to a school that has a great athletic program so that you can get better training and be with stronger athletes and perform better." I didn't know anything about that. And right when I was getting ready to go to high school, they built a new school called Armwood Senior High School out in Sefner, like a 40-minute one-way drive, and I was forced to go out there by bus. Other than that, I would have went where my oldest brother and only brother went, which was Hillsborough High School. And they were pretty good athletically back then. So I was made to go there. My sickly sister got specially put at a school close to the house because she was going to the hospital all the time and she could not, go way out there. She needed to be close to home so that my parents could get to her. We grew up in the same house our whole life. And back then, that's the way it was. When your parents bought a house, all the children were born, and you pretty much stayed in that house. And then you might move away after you get a job and get married yourself, or go to college, or take some kind of trade and start your own life. But pretty much your parents were still in that house, or somebody from your family. And that's kind of how life was for us. Now, back to this. I prayed for children, twins, and May 26, 2004, I was cut open at Morton Plant Mease Hospital, and my children were yanked out of me. I guess you can see I'm still feeling a little upset about this C-section. It was forced on me. I can get in a real rant about this still today, because my children should be further along. And if they would have been able to come home to the loving arms of their mother, I'm sure they would have been further along. I believe that. Now, they were taken into DCF custody at 3 days old because of lies. I thought it was just the hospital. It wasn't just the hospital. It was the people in my so-called friend group and family circles. Pretty much the same people that are attacking my life again right now. They're doing this in cycles. So they forced me to try to figure out what is doable in this whole concept of witchcraft. See, I grew up Christian, African Methodist Episcopal at Allen Temple AME Church. That's where I spent my life. My grandmother, Irene P. Scarborough's, took me to church, took me to the YPD meetings on Saturdays. And when I became an older woman, I joined things like the Missionary Society, the choir, and I was an usher for a little bit. I was the assistant superintendent for a little bit. So now, that was the age of Pisces. And people kind of did things the same way for a long time and stayed in a position for a long time. I don't even know where to go from here. My children were kidnapped legally, well, illegally, by a legal system. All they had to do was put a couple of lies on a piece of paper, notarize it, say, hey, I have a title, I have a sworn position, therefore I am telling the truth. She's crazy, she's a mom, she thinks she's an activist, she's a nobody, so we're going to ignore her, take her children, railroad her, rake her over the coals, and help her to understand that she is not going to be walking around here pointing things out that we're doing wrong, like she's Dr. Martin Luther King or Malcolm X. And so I was somewhat blacklisted, and my life took an angry turn. I walked up and down the street passing out flyers, the old time activist actions. which is still highly effective today, even though they have the internet. With almost anything, they can block your communication, block your ability to get your message out. And as a result of that being the reality, I have been forced to truly, truly lean and depend on the Creator. I look up in the sky and I say, you know what? I have not met a man yet that can make a sun, toss it up in the sky, and make it stick. Because I would like to see another Jupiter, and I'm looking for that guy who can make planets. And I haven't met him yet, so I still choose to believe that there is a creator. I can't explain it. I can't explain how it all goes down, but I have not been able to make myself believe that a bunch of gases and chemicals rolled around in the atmosphere, the universe, and boom, just created some nice shit, you know? Now, it could happen because, when you cook, you have to what? I want some cornbread. I've been craving cornbread, and I have some, so I'm going to make me some chili and rice and make me some cornbread. But, you get the cornmeal. There's maybe a little cornstarch and maybe a little baking soda. And then you add the milk and the egg, and you mix it all up and you activate it. And then when you add some heat, what you got? Cornbread. But I just can't. The string theory and all of that, that's beyond me. I don't believe it. So I choose to believe in creators. Let's make man in our image. Whoever that was, that's who I believe in. So that doesn't mean that I don't respect other religions, but my first religion was Christianity. When I got mad because I felt like Christians were being too apathetic and they were letting too many things happen, and they were telling me to pray, and I didn't understand the power of prayer. See, if they had broke it down and helped me to understand the power of prayer, maybe that would have saved me a lot of nicks and bruises and, straight up A whippings, ASS whippings. But I kind of learned it the hard way, as they say, the hard knock life. So by the time you all made a really big mess. Whoa. Okay. That's what happens when you don't pay attention to the dogs. They done pulled everything out of the bag and tore it all across the floor. All right, so back to this. So as I got angry with the Christian church, I left Christianity and I went to find the truth. That's what I went out in the world to find, the truth. And by golly, the truth is a really big thing. And the truth can be portrayed in many different ways. I liken it to how Jesus talked to the shepherd. When he talked to the shepherd, he talked to the shepherd about shepherd things, herding the sheep and, making sure your flock stays together and keeping count of your flock. And I am assuming these things, right? If one gets away, you're supposed to go get it. I'm assuming you have to have a stick and something to fend off the lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my. And when he talked to the fishermen, he talked to them about mending their nets and where to throw their nets and whatever fishermen talk about. So basically what I'm trying to say to you is there are subsets within our reality called life in our world, and those people communicate religion in differing ways, but I truly believe that it's all the same source. But people have the right to look up to somebody that looks like them, and they have the right to relate their religion to stories that make sense to their culture. And that's in your 3D reality. Once you start moving up and evolving, 5D, 6D, 7D, you realize that it all seems to blend in and be one. And you stop. Well, not stop, but you focus less on the color of the skin, how the eyes look, the nose looks, what the body looks like, what color it is. Those things sort of kind of fade away because you begin to be able to try the spirit by the spirit, which is very important. Being able to energetically discern people's intention. And now it's purge every day in the world. So you really need to be paying attention to people's energy and their body language and be listening to the Creator. Somewhere in the Bible it says something like, my sheep, my children know my voice, my children know my voice and they obey me, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing again. That's in the Bible. And you can always Google and say, where in the Bible did Jesus say, my sheep or my children know my voice and they obey me? And then you can read it verbatim. So I asked the Creator years ago, two things, because every year I like to focus on one concept. And so I was like, God, when I throw this bread out here, how do these birds know to come get this bread? And I used to be a very lucky person. Whatever I thought about it would come to me so easily and quickly. And the grown people and the older children around me were noticing this. I wasn't paying attention to it too well. And they started doing witchcraft against me, I am alleging. So the same thing happened to my children. They took my children so that they could add to their life by taking away from my children's life. Same thing they did to me. Right now, I would have been Dr. Aileen Atkins, Esquire. I love school. I overdo almost everything I do. So I took a job at the University of South Florida where if I had gone to work for Hillsborough County Head Start, I would have made almost $10,000 more a year. But because I got free credits, 6 free credits every semester at the University of South Florida, I was going to stay there and get my PhD in school psychology or psychiatry. And I think I was leaning more towards psychology, school psychology, because I wanted to help children in alternative education. Because I was that type of child, I was angry and I would tell you how I felt. And that was unacceptable to them. So they would give me referrals and, low marks because I expressed myself. So it was like, you can't really express yourself at home, 22, without getting a spanking or some kind of negative retribution for being honest. And then if you do the same thing at school, you get the same thing. So they wanted you to hold it in and implode. And I was not imploding. I'm going to say what I feel, and then whatever the consequences are, they are. And I'm kind of that way today, except thanks to the Creator, I have the ability to temper myself. And I say to myself, is this going to make a difference to, the community at large? If it's not, then, I'll say it at home or scream it out loud when I go to the park. I don't have to share everything. So that's another reason I post less. I don't have to share everything. So I say, Creator God, do I need to say this? If He says yes, then I say, okay, I will say it. Other than that, I'm not saying this and that. So back to the children that I prayed for. They were taken into DCF custody because I had a lot of witches and warlocks around me. And those people, when you do evil, you get negative karma. And a lot of people go to church and claim to be good, and they're lying to themselves and lying to you. If you in their face and they telling you that crap, they have a lot of negative karmic debt. So they try to wipe it away by taking these little young children, babies, and doing witchcraft on them, trying to something called destiny swapping. Excuse me. I ate something, then took a little swig of vinegar, and it's all interacting down there in my gut, which is giving me I guess, gas? I'm having to burp, so pardon me for that. So I would have never believed this stuff. I was in my 40s, late 40s, when I started to even think, what are you serious? This is real? Because I kept saying, God, I am too brilliant to be broke. Like, what is going on in my life? I am too brilliant. And I work too hard to educate myself and to just do right and to be on point. So why is my life on the ground? Why is my life still on the ground? Why is my life still on the ground? Why is my life still on the ground? Negroes around me, sucking. And if you don't know, that's what they will do to you. And so now that I know, I'm constantly returning to cinder, cutting cords, because my hair would be just like this child's hair right here. And I'm sure this is weave. It's still pretty, but my natural hair would have been definitely in the middle of my butt. But they cut my hair. And then one of the warlocks that was so-called a friend and an advisor, right? He said, you should just shave it all off. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. But I didn't know that he was grooming me for a replacement. He already had a replacement. So they were supposed to gain stock me, run me in the ground. And if they couldn't get me falsely accused for crimes that they had committed, then they were going to gang stalk me so that I could off myself and then just plug the person they already had prepped, a part of their little coven group, in to my life. And many doppelgangers have done this and that in the name of Aileen, but it ain't me. They were going around collecting money, I believe, using my SOS Academy. And the Creator knows the truth, and He knows how to make crooked roads straight. So I don't really worry myself about too much of it. I just try to get out what the Creator tells me to get out. And sometimes I share my story as a part of it. Most of the time I'm sharing my story. So these people kidnapped my children and, basically used them to get money. So the children don't even have a high school diploma or a GED. Now they supposed to be so smart and God-fearing and all of that, but they couldn't get the children at least a high school diploma? Like, child, please. But there are these things within these covens, humiliation spells. What else do they try to do? I don't know enough about it, but I'm watching it play out in the entertainment world also. The slap with Will Smith, and when it's your turn to be humiliated, maybe they'll have you wear a dress if you're a man, or have your breasts flop out on stage if you're a woman. They have all kind of little things that they do. And this is one of the reasons I decided not to go into acting and or the rap game. I've been rapping ever since I was in like 7th, 8th grade, writing poems ever since I was like in 5th grade. So I have written much. So in that industry, you have to basically turn on your integrity. You have to give up your integrity in order to be a member of the club. Many people feel like it's one large coven. So it took a lot for me to turn to tarot and begin to listen to readers and what energetically they were picking up in the world. God led me there. And many people are like, oh, Jesus wouldn't lead you there because it says in the Bible that that's, witchcraft and da 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 da. And I don't know how to balance that out. A lot of people try to make me feel like they believe so much in the Bible. But if you put shrimp on the table, they're going to eat it. Some people, if you put some chitlins on the table, they're going to eat it. If you put some pork chops on the table, they're going to eat it. If you put some pork ribs on the table, they're going to eat it. And people will take some parts and then leave others. So I just say, hey, if the Creator can separate the sky from the land and day from night, then the Creator has the ability to make changes within me. So I just pray and say, Creator, help me to present the truth. Help me to live the truth. Help me to be the truth. And that's all I can really do. Everybody that pretty much has ever said I love you has done something horrific to me. And I don't mean, upset me. I mean horrific. So I don't really pay attention to people's words too much anymore. I don't worry about whether they like me or not. In the grand scheme of things, what does it benefit me if you like me? Most of the time it takes away because I'm in your crosshair and you're looking to see how you can take from me. So basically, my life has been a culmination of trying to find a husband and dating a whole bunch of warlocks and handlers and frauds. So I'm thankful for my children, every last one of them. And I am thankful to be alive because many people have sought to end my life for their own personal gain so that they could again take from me mostly money, a house, a car, my children so that they could get money. Because if you have children, then, if they're in the foster care system, you get a pretty fat check. If, you pretend the mom is dead, you can get a disability check. And this is the way the Christians around my way roll. That's why I call them frauds. So if you have children, you watch them around other people. All that spending the night shit need to be a thing of the past. The more you know, you're supposed to use this knowledge to make life better. Teach your children, take your blood products, cover your hair, and when you're sleeping in a room, sleep against the door. Close that bitch, lock it. Put something against the door, sleep against the door. Because these people nowadays, they'll come in, jug your children in the neck, put them out, have sex with them. You thinking your children virgins. And every time they go over to Uncle Johnny's house, oh Lord, why did I say Uncle Johnny? Johnny is a common name. I have an Uncle Johnny. I don't know why that rolled off my tongue, but they, have been had sex with, and the children don't even know that they've been violated. This is the kind of stuff that's happening. So you need to pay attention. You need to be praying. You need to think about your movements and the people you have around your children because these guys that seem too good to be true, most of the time, these are the down low brothers, especially if they drive a Mercedes. These are the kind of cars that these down low coven members like to drive. It makes them feel like they're somebody. And these people get together, they marry women, they pretend that they love them, and sometimes they're slowly poisoning them. And they have insurance policies on them. Sometimes they put insurance policies on the children. Because if their business gets slow, they will kill the children or have somebody else do it. Spell work mostly. But if the spell work don't work, they will get somebody to come and hit them with a car or some other stuff. These are all allegations, of course. So you decide whether or not you believe that this happens in real life. I'm thankful to be alive. I'm thankful to the Creator, the ancestors, the Orishas, the Metal-Netters, the Ascended Masters, the fairies, and all other good energies in the universe. So I was told to share this with you under my topics trending in Tarot. So I guess, I want to lift this young lady up in prayer. Ancestors, angels, Orishas, divine creator, Metal-Netters, ascended masters, fairies, and all other good energies in the universe. Protect this child if she is righteous in heart, and I perceive that she is, provide her with provisions, protection, prosperity, and peace in her heart. And I want to say an SOS salute and thank you for her time, energy, and efforts. So maybe you all can go and check her out and maybe subscribe. Peace and Hotep. Signing out at 5:48 a.m. Today is January the 24th in the year of 2024. I'm in Tampa, Florida.